So what are we doing tomorrow? An all-time recommendation, an old school game that is so good it has stuck with you forever. Okay, I think I can do that. Nostalgia is a hell of a thing, isn't it? Especially now that things are so well documented and we're constantly living in a series of once-in-a-lifetime historical events. A lot of us are looking at our childhood memories with sunglasses that contain the strongest rose-colored tint on Earth. However, due to how well things are preserved, now a lot of times when we actually revisit these things we watched or listened to or played growing up, we realize, damn.
I'm sorry for who follow me. Chillin' with a Filipina at your local Jollibee. Yeah. I'm in her ass like side of me, so if you see my hand under the table, don't bother me.
This is kind of ass. What we actually miss, of course, is being children and the state of mind we had while we were, kids. However, there are true gems hidden within the biased mazes of our nostalgic memories, and this game that I'm about to tell you about is definitely one of them. Not only do I believe it's one of the best licensed games ever made, and not only do I believe it's one of, if not the best Game Boy Advance games ever made, not only do I believe this is one of the best 2D handheld platformers ever made, not counting Switch games, because the Switch is not a fucking handheld, I truly believe that this game is one of the most underrated video games of all time. Ladies and gentle ladies, that that is actually what I wrote. What? Okay, you're real funny. You're real funny, guy. Ladies and gentle ladies, welcome to the world of Dragon Ball Advanced Adventure. If I had to describe this game in a single word, I think it would be lovely. This is just a lovely little fucking game that is way better than it needed to be. This game feels like if you combined Mega Man X, a Metroidvania, Streets of Rage, a shoot 'em up in certain areas, and a Dragon Ball Z Budokai game. I swear to you, this is gonna make sense. This game has some amazing sprite work, some of the best for Dragon Ball, and especially for the Game Boy Advance. For a game that you can technically beat in 2 hours if you're not playing it on the hardest difficulty or trying to 100% it or do all the things you need to make your character completely maxed out, it's a pretty decent summary of the first 2/3 of Dragon Ball. It goes from Goku's early adventures all the way up to the death of King Piccolo. It does skip around like Chi-Chi and Android 8, which now I kind of realize is a little bit crazy. Now, if I had to strip down the design philosophy of this game to the bare bones, I would say it mostly follows a design philosophy similar to Mega Man or Mega Man X. It's very action-heavy platforming while you try to avoid like pits of death and spikes and shit. There's also a whole lot of replayability within these levels, even though the game can be beaten between 2 and 4 hours, similar to most Mega Man games. You can find secrets, secret doors, level ups to your ki, your power pole, and your health, sort of like the E-tanks and weapon tanks from Mega Man. However, a lot of these levels also have a lot more verticality than a Mega Man game, where you have to use your power pole or your glide or your wall jump or even a super or two to access different levels of the stage. And there's backtracking within some of these stages, like Pilaf's Castle. This is where the more Metroidvania aspect of the game kicks in, because you can come back to earlier stages in the game with all your power-ups and your supers and whatever you got later on and go back through these stages looking for these secret areas and backtracking and looking for all these secret doors with all the items, where the Dragon Balls are, all that shit. So it's kind of like how nowadays how we have both open world games and open zone games. I would describe this game as kind of more akin to like a platformer with Metroidvania zones in it. It's mostly a Mega Man X clone, but there's also these open stages within the game where you can experiment a little bit more with how you're moving around with Goku or any of the other characters that you can replay the game with, because once you beat the game with Goku, you unlock Krillin, and once you get all these other secrets and the Dragon Balls and all these other things, you can play the game again with different characters who have their own supers and their own combos and their own techniques. All these combos are kind of similar to something like a Streets of Rage or a beat 'em up. You have like special where you hit L and R bar that can wipe out enemies on the screen. You have the Kamehameha, of course, which you have to collect pieces of and get more ki to actually do. You have another super after that that also uses ki that you can use to explore different areas of the stage. For example, Goku's Punch Through, which allows you to project yourself in pretty much like a rocket to different areas of the stage in like a diagonal direction, which you can use for both exploration and fighting. You can also find upgrades like, again, for your ki and your health, and also your physical damage, which just changes how your combo chains work completely, because now in certain stages you're going to be one-shotting enemies, while in other stages you're still going to be, you know, able to actually get like a 15 hit combo off. Then on top of all of these, you know, platforming levels, there are also flying Nimbus levels, which are basically like martial arts based shoot 'em up levels where you can deflect bullets with your power pole back at enemies, or you can punch bullets and time your combos using iframes that you naturally get in the game. When you punch a bullet, you get a couple iframes to hit the enemy, and you also just get a couple iframes for flying around. Like, it's, why haven't more games done this? Then after you already have those two different types of levels, there are also the world tournament levels that basically turn the game into a handheld version of the Dragon Ball Z Budokai games. They have clashes, blocking, teleports, some flying, some gliding, because certain characters can fly and certain characters can glide. You can even chain combos together. It's not super in-depth, like there's no like real tech, but it's still really cool that they even attempted to do something like this, and it only adds on to like the variety that already exists in the game itself. I also forgot to add that similar to Megaman, there are usually a mini boss and an actual like boss in a lot of these stages, and there's also certain areas where you just have to fight, kind of like Streets of Rage. Again, that variety, dude, it keeps coming. The music in this game is also top notch, which is extremely impressive, especially for the Game Boy Advance, which was notorious for having kind of shitty music in most of its games because of the garbage sound chip that was inside the Game Boy Advance, so it could actually do like Super Nintendo graphics. I mean, even some Sonic games that are known for having really good music did not get off scot-free. The developers of this game, man, they managed to crank out some fucking heat for a Dragon Ball game. Not even a Dragon Ball Z game, a Dragon Ball game. And the craziest part is that on top of all this, all the stuff I just said, they go, you know what? Not only are we going to give you an extra mode where you can collect all the Dragon Balls and then unlock every character and then beat the story with any character. No. We're not only going to give you that, we're also going to give you the World Tournament game mode. You can just play that. You can just play handheld Dragon Ball Z Budokai, bro. And not only that, we're going to make it so you can play that game mode with CPUs, because we know that not everybody has link cables or friends. We're giving you all this for free. And also, it's gonna have the greatest character selection theme of all time. Revisiting this game is like rewatching Avatar as an adult. There might be bias. In fact, I know there is. I know I'm probably glossing over problems that might be manifest to others who didn't waste probably a week's worth of hours playing this game as a kid. But I also know that the quality in this game is real. The quality is real. This game is good, which is why to this day, it's still one of my all-time recommendations. If you like Dragon Ball, if you like platforms, if you like both, if you like Megaman, please play this game. It deserves your time. Emulate it. Find an $80 copy on eBay. I don't care. Just play this shit though. This game deserves your time. And it's the most underrated platformer of all time. And that's that.
Just be ourselves.